The big story that we're focusing this Saturday evening on the show, viewers, is the war over GST reforms. Now, the Congress party has called for an official discussion paper on GST 2.0, says that India is set to witness major reforms in the GST regime this year. Remember, Prime Minister Modi made the pitch for fresh set of rationalization of GST when he said this will be a double Diwali dhamaka. He said that from the ramparts of Red Fort. What that means is from a 4 slab GST formula, it may come down to just 2%. So right now, the 28% slab and the 12% slab may go, and that could lead to a major reduction in the overall costs of most of the goods. Now, the centre has now unveiled a 3-pillar blueprint for these reforms that the Prime Minister mentioned that will be sent to the GOM or group of ministers for further discussions. I want to first play out what exactly Prime Minister Modi said when he spoke about it, and then we talk more about what really is the politics about it. Why is it that the Congress party wants a paper even as the direction of these reforms seems to be very clear?
Mr. Garg, now GST 2.0, it aims to simplify the tax structure. So,
इस दिवाली में आपकी डबल दिवाली का काम मैं करने वाला हूं। पिछले 8 साल से हमने जीएसटी का बहुत बड़ा रिफॉर्म किया। पूरे देश में टैक्स के बर्डन को कम किया, टैक्स की व्यवस्थाओं को सरल किया, और 8 साल के बाद समय की मांग है कि हम एक बार उसको रिव्यू करें। हमने एक हाई पावर कमेटी को बिठा करके रिव्यू शुरू किया, राज्यों से भी विचार विमर्श किया। हम नेक्स्ट जनरेशन जीएसटी रिफॉर्म्स लेकर के आ रहे हैं। ये दिवाली के अंदर आपके लिए तोहफा बन जाएंगे। सामान्य मानवीय की जरूरतों के टैक्स भारी मात्रा में कम कर दिए जाएंगे। बहुत बड़ी सुविधा बढ़ेगी। हमारे एमएसएमई, हमारे लघु उद्यमी, इनको बहुत बड़ा लाभ मिलेगा। रोजमर्रा की चीजें बहुत सस्ती हो जाएगी और उससे इकोनॉमी को भी एक नया बल मिलने वाला है।
Mr. Garg, now GST 2.0, it aims to simplify the tax structure. So will this then allow Indian exporters to stay competitive in light of Trump's tariffs? Because that is the main point of contention at the moment for Indian traders.
See, GST, all taxes are taken off as part of the exports. So exports are not affected by whatever changes come out of the announcement which the Prime Minister made. So as far as exports are concerned, nothing. The main changes will come in, and whenever they come, at this moment, this is an announcement. It's coming from Prime Minister of the country. So it has to be major big one. To put it into the context, Nirmala Sitharaman, as part of the budget, gave 1 lakh crore bonanza for the income tax. And when the Prime Minister announces from the Red Fort, this has to be much, much larger, maybe to the tune of 2 to 2.5 lakh crore as and when it comes. We don't know exact details of how it will work out. Prime Minister spoke about the reforms part of it, which refer to inclusion of petroleum products and other excluded parts into the GST. He spoke about giving a large gift to, or Diwali gift to the people, which is basically reducing the rates applicable for them. So let us see how it works out. It will have different impact on the businesses and also on the tax revenue of the government, as well as on the people, depending upon what kind of compensation or what kind of package comes in.
Right, you heard the former finance secretary talking in terms of the potential impact that this will have. Now, before we get to the politics of it, the nitty-gritties of it, as to how really the money will come in, how will there be refunds. Now, viewers, there is going to be 3 major impacts after this reform kicks in. In Diwali is when, around Diwali is when it's likely to be. First and foremost, most of the goods will become significantly cheaper. The overall costing of 99% of the products will come down drastically, which means that the cost of living will reduce, which will also have an impact in terms of the inflation that may come down as well. So that's the first and biggest impact that will happen. Second, equally important will be the fact that there will be some amount of recalibration of government revenues. Now, GST revenues are upwards of 2 lakh crore rupees monthly broadly, and that may get impacted if there is a major rationalization, and the government will have to then identify potential alternate streams by which it may have to cover up if there is a revenue loss. So that's the second impact that the government will have to see. And the third and most important is it's the direction, the messaging given to global investors that India wants to simplify, India wants reforms, India wants to ensure that the ease of doing business is something we don't just speak about, we put it into action. And the moment you have ease of doing business as a major priority area, as a major reform area, that sends out a very strong message to investors around the world, which is why this GST rationalization is going to be extremely significant. I want to now play out this report that's been filed by Shrimi from NDTV Profit, really explaining the nitty-gritties of how this is likely to pan out. Remember, the legislation and the compliance and the law itself, there are a lot of fine print to it, and Shrimi tells you exactly that fine print will have to change when the rationalization of rates kicks in.
The Finance Ministry has put out a blueprint suggesting 3 key pillars on the GST 2.0. Number one, the structural reforms. The second important is rate reduction. And the third important is the ease of living and ease of compliance. Now, first up is, of course, the rate reduction. What central government is pushing at this point is to move towards 2 slab GST structure. Now, this is the deviation from the earlier discussion of moving towards 3 slab structure from the existing GST structure, which we have 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%. And in fact, now Finance Ministry is saying to move towards 2 slab to have one standard rates and second one is the merit rate. And some items will have, some select items will have these special rates. Now, this is coming at a time when, of course, the government aiming to boost consumption, and this kind of measure may boost consumption. The second important aspect which FinMin is highlighting at this point on the structural reforms with respect to correcting the inverted duty structure. Now, this is something that has been, a pain point for industry as far as input tax credit is concerned. A lot of litigation around it, and that's why with structural reform, the government is trying to address that bit as well. And the third important aspect is ease of living and ease of compliance, and where the government pushed towards having more, technology-driven kind of registration, more automated refunds, pre-filled GST in line with pre-filled income tax returns. So all those measures are clearly there to kind of push GST 2.0. And in fact, and I would like to quote here also that the Finance Ministry clearly underlining the fact that the whole blueprint of GST 2.0 is rooted in cooperative federalism. Of course, they are hinting and implying that whatever the decision would be taken will be with the consensus with all these states. And in fact, sources hinting at that the GST Council meeting, which is expected next month in September, they are going to take up this matter, and maybe we will see some major decision on the GST reform.
All right, so that was Shrimi telling you about the process as to when and how this entire process of rationalization will kick in. Let's now quickly play out these ground reports that have been filed by my colleagues Ritvik Mandal and Shubhang, telling you the impact this will have on people, viewers like you and me, when the cost of living, when the costing of products and goods comes down. Take a look at these reports that have been filed.
जैसे कल प्रधानमंत्री ने जैसे कहा कि देखिए कि जीएसटी में एक फेरबदल किया जाएगा, एक बड़ा बदलाव आने वाला है दिवाली के समय। आप जैसे यहाँ पर कोलकाता में जो मेडिसिन शॉप चलाते हैं, कई सारे लोग बहुत दिनों से ये कह रहे थे कि जो मेडिसिन दवाई की जो दाम है उसमें थोड़ा अगर उसका दाम जिस तरीके से आए दिन बढ़ रहा है, क्या उम्मीदें हैं इससे? आपके सेक्टर से क्या उम्मीदें हैं?
हाँ, अगर दाम प्राइस थोड़ा कम हो जाए, बहुत सारे लोग आते हैं कुछ कुछ प्रोडक्ट का दाम पूछते हैं, फिर बोलते हैं कि हाँ ठीक है बाद में आके लेके जाते हैं। जो जिसका बजट थोड़ा कम होता है वो नहीं ले पाते हैं। दाम थोड़ा कम हो जाए, जीएसटी अगर थोड़ा कुछ कम हो जाए तो हम लोगों का सेल भी बढ़ जाएगा, तो अच्छा ही होगा, हम लोगों का सेल भी बढ़ जाएगा।
जरा ये बताइए कि कौन कौन से चीज़ें हैं जहाँ पर लगता है कि जीएसटी का दाम कम होना बहुत ज़रूरी है?
जैसे मेडिकल इक्विपमेंट है, जैसे ये आ गया आपका, ये ग्लूकोवा, ये हो गया, या फिर ये आप समझ लें ये ऑक्सीमीटर है। तो अगर इसमें जैसे क्या होता है ना, बहुत सारे जैसे हमारे मिडिल क्लास टाइप के जो लोग होते हैं उनका अगर थोड़ा दाम अगर कम हो जाए तो ये हमारे जैसे मिडिल क्लास लोगों के लिए काफ़ी बेटर होगा।
यानी आप कह रहे हैं ये मेडिकल इक्विपमेंट जो है इसमें कितना परसेंटेज जीएसटी लगता है?
12%.
So what we can see that these kind of medical equipments which are basic needs nowadays, as this shopkeepers says they run this medical shop and they feel that post COVID situation every household needs medical equipment like pulse oximeter or glucometer, which is higher in the price because of the higher GST, and they expect that there should be a slash in these particular items which will it will be most cost efficient and also boost their sale. With camera person GD Shankar, this is Ritik for NDTV.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his Independence Day speech from Red Fort has hinted on GST reforms. Now currently I am standing at Khan Market with the traders over here just to understand that how it would affect their business. जो बदलाव होगा, जो टैक्स स्लैब्स 4 से 2 हो जाएंगे, इसे क्या उम्मीदें हैं आपकी अपने बिजनेस को लेकर के?
See, the traders have been always saying that there should be 2 slabs only. Though Prime Minister proposed 5 and 18, we were thinking it will be 5 and 15. But nevertheless, whatever they have decided, we feel that it will be good for the business also, it will be good for the consumer also. Provided the prices which are going to affect by this, decline should be penetrate, they must penetrate into actuality.
तो 18 और 5% का प्रपोजल दिया है प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, तो वैसे तो उसमें अभी तक ठीक लग रहा है। सिर्फ ये है कि जो 12% वाला है उसको कितना 18 में ले जाते हैं, उससे फ़र्क पड़ेगा कि अगर उसमें से 12% से 18% में ज़्यादा चले गए तो पब्लिक को भी नुकसान होगा, हमारे को भी होगा। हाँ, ये ज़रूर है कि अकाउंटेंसी में 2 होने की वजह से हमारे को इजी रहेगा, थोड़ी कॉम्प्लिकेशन कम हो जाएंगी।
बिजनेस के लिए तो अच्छा ही है, सिंस वी हैव अ फार्मेसी बिजनेस। हमारे यहाँ पे 3 स्लैब्स हैं, 5%, 18% कॉस्मेटिक्स पे है और फिर 28% थोड़ा हायर ड्रग्स पे है। नेचुरली जब ये स्लैब्स कम हुए हैं तो उससे बेनिफिट्स हमें भी बेनिफिट मिलेगा और कंज्यूमर को भी बेनिफिट मिलेगा। और हम जो टैक्स भरते हैं उसमें भी बड़ी परेशानी होती है, देयर अबाउट 4 स्लैब्स, अब वो भी थोड़ा ईजी हो जाएगा। तो नेचुरली इट्स अ गुड, अच्छा इनिशिएटिव है फ्रॉम द प्राइम मिनिस्टर।
ये जो सिंप्लीफिकेशन है ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, जो मैं कहूँ डिले आ रही है पर आ रही है, तो बहुत अच्छा स्टेप है। सुन के बहुत ही एवरीबडी इज़ वेरी हैप्पी, क्योंकि पहले कॉम्प्लिकेशंस बहुत थी। एक आइटम पे 5% है, दूसरे पे 12% हो गया। आप एक ट्रेड में डील कर रहे हैं, लेकिन इतनी उसमें क्लैरिफिकेशन थी कि उसमें गलती आदमी 100% कर सकता है।
So here you clearly heard the traders of Khan Market and they are happily welcoming the GST reforms. From Delhi with my camera person Gopal, this is Shubhan Singh Thakur for NDTV.
All right, so you heard how it's likely to make things cheaper, a lot of goods cheaper. Now let's try and understand the politics of it, viewers. GST is a reform that requires centre to pay states or compensate if there is a revenue loss. The GST is also something that decisions are taken with the consensus of states. Several state governments, of course, are run by opposition governments, which is why there are several views that are emerging as to how this should be panned out. Of course, then there is politics over reforms as well that's coming out as well, which is why it's important to play out some of these reactions from political parties that are coming in about how they want to approach these next set of reforms that the Prime Minister spoke about.
एक तो जीएसटी में रिफॉर्म्स की बात उन दिवाली से कही है। अब जब जीएसटी लागू हुआ तो कहा था कि भारत का न्याय आजाद हुआ, भारत आजादी मिली है, इससे बढ़िया कोई टैक्स प्रणाली नहीं है। और आप इतनी जल्दी रिफॉर्म्स की जरूरत पड़ गई जीएसटी में। इसका मतलब कि पहले जो जीएसटी लागू की गई थी वो बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं थी, गलत थी। उसकी वजह से व्यापारी तंग हुआ, आम आदमी तंग हुआ, लोग परेशान हुए। इसलिए इसमें सुधार करने की जरूरत आ पड़ी है।
GST reforms and moving with the times is the promise of the Honorable Prime Minister. He has said that the next generation GST reforms will come as a Diwali gift. And of course, if he's aiming to simplify the tax system and reduce the burden for businessmen as well as citizens, the beneficiary is the end consumer. So why critique a very progressive reform which is here to make amendments in the days to come so that the consumer and the citizen benefit the most with the GST reforms?
He spoke about GST. Those things need to be spoken during the budget time, not during this time. This time, international issues, Indian issues, such kind of things should have been spoken, which I think he didn't speak about.